In the ancient lands of Sumer, where the Euphrates and Tigris rivers carved life into the desert, the goddess Inanna reigned supreme. Known as the Queen of Heaven and Earth, she was the embodiment of love, beauty, and war. Her eyes, dark and infinite as the night sky, seemed to hold the mysteries of the cosmos. Her long, flowing hair shimmered like liquid obsidian, cascading over shoulders, adorned with the finest jewels and garments that rivaled the stars in their splendor. Inanna was revered and feared in equal measure. She inspired poets and protected lovers, yet her wrath on the battlefield was unparalleled. Armies trembled before her, and her name was whispered in awe and terror. Despite her boundless power and influence over the heavens and the earth, there was one realm that remained beyond her grasp, the Underworld, the shadowy dominion ruled by her estranged sister, Ereshkigal. The Underworld had always been a source of intrigue and frustration for Inanna. Though she had conquered the heights of the heavens and the breadth of the earth, she yearned to understand the mysteries of death and the afterlife. This desire grew into an obsession, and she resolved to descend into the dark domain to confront her sister and claim her place as the mistress of all realms. Inanna began her preparations with meticulous care. In her sacred quarters, she chose her most resplendent attire, a gown woven with threads of gold and silver, encrusted with jewels that glimmered like constellations. She adorned herself with a crown symbolizing her divine authority, a necklace that represented her unyielding power, and bracelets etched with runes of protection. Her hair was intricately styled, held in place by an ivory comb adorned with pearls and gemstones. Before embarking on her perilous journey, Inanna summoned her loyal minister, Ninshubur. "If I do not return within 3 days and 3 nights," she instructed solemnly, "go to the great gods Enlil, Nanna, and Enki. Plead for their help to rescue me from the underworld." Ninshubur, unwavering in his loyalty, vowed to fulfill her command. With her preparations complete, Inanna began her descent. The path to the underworld was a labyrinth of shadows and silence. As she descended, the light of the upper world faded, replaced by an oppressive gloom that seemed to seep into her very being. At the first gate of the underworld, Inanna encountered Nedi, the gatekeeper. "Who dares disturb the peace of the underworld?" he demanded. "I am Inanna, Queen of Heaven and Earth," she declared. "I have come to visit my sister, Ereshkigal." Nedi scrutinized her, his gaze lingering on her opulent attire. "To enter, you must relinquish your crown," he said. Reluctantly, Inanna removed her crown, the symbol of her divine authority, and handed it to Nedi. The gate creaked open, and she stepped through, her power diminished but her resolve unshaken. At each of the 7 gates, Inanna was compelled to surrender another piece of her regalia, her necklace, her bracelets, her breastplate, her cloak. With each loss, she felt her strength wane, her divine essence stripped away layer by layer. By the time she reached the 7th gate, she stood naked and vulnerable, her mortal frailty laid bare. Inanna entered the judgment hall, where Ereshkigal awaited her. The queen of the underworld was a stark contrast to her radiant sister. Her pale, gaunt face was devoid of warmth, her black eyes like empty voids. Around her stood the Anunnaki, the 7 judges of the underworld, their expressions cold and inscrutable. "What brings you to my realm, sister?" Ereshkigal asked, her voice dripping with disdain. "I have come to pay my respects," Inanna replied, her voice steady despite the vulnerability she felt. Ereshkigal's laughter echoed through the hall, sharp and mocking. "Do not insult me with lies. You seek to usurp my throne, but you will find only death here." At her command, the Anunnaki seized Inanna. They judged her guilty of arrogance and ambition, crimes punishable by death. Without mercy, they hung her lifeless body on a hook, and her divine essence seeped away, leaving her a husk suspended in the void. 3 days passed, and Ninshubur grew increasingly anxious. Remembering Inanna's instructions, he donned mourning garments and went to the temples of the great gods. He first approached Enlil, the god of the air, but Enlil refused to intervene. "The laws of the underworld are absolute," he said. Ninshubur then sought out Nanna, the moon god, but received the same response. Despairing, he turned to Enki, the god of wisdom and water. Enki, moved by Ninshubur's devotion and recognizing the cosmic imbalance Inanna's death could cause, devised a plan. Using clay from beneath his fingernails, Enki created 2 sexless beings, the Gala. He imbued them with cunning and resilience, instructing them to enter the underworld unnoticed and retrieve Inanna's body. The Gala descended into the underworld, their androgynous forms allowing them to bypass the gates unnoticed. When they reached the judgment hall, they found Inanna's lifeless body hanging from the hook. Following Enki's instructions, they sang mournful dirges that resonated with the very fabric of the underworld. Ereshkigal, moved by their lamentations, granted them a boon. Seizing the opportunity, they asked for Inanna's body. Reluctantly, Ereshkigal handed it over. The Gala sprinkled the food and water of life onto Inanna, and her eyes fluttered open. Breath returned to her lungs, and vitality coursed through her veins. Though alive, Inanna could not leave the underworld without providing a substitute. Bound by its unyielding laws, she was forced to choose someone to take her place. When Inanna returned to the upper world, she found her husband, Dumuzi, reveling in luxury and pleasure, indifferent to her ordeal. Enraged by his callousness, she chose him as her substitute. Dumuzi fled in terror, seeking refuge with his sister, Inanna. The demons of the underworld pursued him relentlessly, eventually capturing him and dragging him to Ereshkigal's realm. Inanna, heartbroken, pleaded with Inanna to spare her brother. Her love and devotion moved the goddess, who agreed to a compromise. Dumuzi would spend half the year in the underworld, while Inanna would take his place for the other half. This arrangement marked the beginning of the cycle of the seasons. When Dumuzi was in the underworld, the earth grew barren and cold, reflecting Inanna's mourning. When he returned, life blossomed anew, symbolizing rebirth and renewal. The story of Inanna's descent became a timeless tale of sacrifice, transformation, and the balance between life and death. It reminded mortals and gods alike of the interconnectedness of all things, the inevitability of change, and the enduring power of love and devotion.